you. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. As you'll see, it's going to be a little bit different tonight. We've changed roles. Bless him.
Gone for ham
Hello
instead
online.
of cheese.
Oh, they're waving to me in here as well. I think they think they're online as well. Right, as I say, it's going to be a bit different tonight. So welcome all. Thank you all for coming. We do appreciate it. We're going to have some fun tonight. And to that end, can I introduce our medium for this evening? My boss and a very good friend to this church. He is the church.
No.
Yeah, he's my boss anyway. So could you please give a rapturous round of applause for a friend, colleague, and the man himself, Nick Brown.
Bless you. Thank you.
As always, we open this service with prayer, and Nick's going to very kindly do that for us.
Of course. Good evening. Let us join together for a couple of minutes and send out our thoughts as we say, Great Spirit, divine universal source of all, we thank you. We thank you for the opportunity to come together as friends under a banner of love, of hope, and of friendship, with the aim, direction, and hope to witness your proof and your truth that life is indeed eternal. As we place this service and this evening in your care and keeping, we make the statement as ever and as one, that everything we do will be in love, truth, and light. Amen.
Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
Now we have a couple of notices. This Sunday, in the little hall there, we've got the drumming, the last one of the year. So we'll be drumming, and then we'll have a bit of a buffet party. If you want to come along, it's a £5. There'll be like I say, a buffet and the drumming. I've got some spare drums there. If anybody wants to come along who hasn't been before, they're welcome. Just let me know if you're coming, so as I know how much food to do, please. Thank you. Yeah, so that's on Sunday, and that's from 10 till 1. Got the time right. Then next week, next Thursday night, here for our Thursday service, we've got Reverend Lynn Gibb, you swart, joining us, which I'm quite looking forward to, actually. That should be good. So now, I think that's all the notices, unless you have any others. Oh, I was trying to avoid that one.
Well, we're quite happy to say for you.
We have some of our congregation here who have decided that next Thursday, party night, there's going to be a dress code. And it's going to be a pajama party. We're mad. Oh dear, I better go and buy some pajamas, I suppose. Right. Now, if that's it, yes. Normally, Nick will do the philosophy. But Nick's not doing the philosophy. I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes instead. Well, that's one grateful anyway. Oh, sorry, Barry. You won't find it too hard. Right, it's getting towards that time of year, Christmas. Some people will be really happy about it. Some people will be sad. But when I look at it, apart from the religious side of it, which we all know about, so I don't need to talk about, I'd like to talk about what we do apart from the religious side. and that is build memories. It's a time of caring and sharing and being nice to one another, giving and receiving of gifts, food, generally making everybody feel happy, including yourself. Now, memories are something that's special. I can remember when I was little, and I think those of a certain age will probably be there somewhere with me. We used to sit with my mum and we used to make decorations. We used to make paper chains, and we used to use flour and water to stick them together. And she used to hang them all over the house. And then we'd go foraging into the woods. And we'd find pine cones, holly, and if we were lucky, some mistletoe, and pieces of branches. And we would paint them white, silver, gold, and we'd make a fantastic display. And it cost nothing, only our time. We had fun. Then we used to go to visit my family in Cambridge. And we had an old Morris 8 in them days. I mean, my brother used to sit on the back seat. And we'd count the Christmas trees in the windows as we were going along. And we used to get a prize, whoever won it. But he always won it, but I think he cheated. But it's memories. It's memories of childhood. People hopefully will continue to do that. I mean, our house, inside and out, is bonkers, covered in lights and Christmas decorations. We haven't got grandchildren. My 2 grandsons have both got 4 legs. They're dogs. That's the nearest I get. But we have the joy of looking out the window when the neighbours and people in the village come along and they bring their children. And this was really, really noticeable when we had lockdown. They'd come along, they'd look at it, and they'd see Father Christmas sitting in the camper van at the steering wheel. And the kiddies' faces were a picture. They were lovely. You know, it really made you smile. And that, for me, is what Christmas is all about. It's about other people. So, you know, if you've had arguments, if you've fallen out with your family or your friends, just take that extra step to build bridges. And it does make a difference. Christmas is all about celebrating. All I can ask is that we help cheer everybody up, even if it's only a candle in the window or a little Christmas tree that you can't kill off, Barry. Just to show that you're in the spirit and lift people's spirits up. Because like I said, memories are what you grow up with. They're what you carry through. You don't forget, and it does make it special. So thank you all for listening. And yeah. We haven't got reading tonight unless anybody else has got one, because I didn't do one. No? No. So in that case, we will venture on to the healing. So if I can welcome to the front Tony, lead our healers in this wonderful job they do.
Thank you. You're so kind. I am. Jolly good. The most important part of Thursday nights, despite what anybody else will say. As ever, if you would like some healing, raise a hand. If you're prepared to give some healing, go to where there's a hand raised. People who need it, just keep your hands up. I'll come down there. It's fine. Yes, we're nearly there. Just a few words as ever. At this point, we ask Great Spirit to send their healing powers down through our healers to the recipients. And those of you that need it, please accept that healing as you can. Please be aware, Great Spirit, that our healers don't want to receive anything they shouldn't. So just keep them protected and keep them safe. Healers, you've got a couple of minutes starting about now. Okay? You're all right? You're okay up there? Yes, everybody's fine. Healers, do your work. Thank you, healers. If you can just bring yourselves back, thank your guides and everything else you have to do at this time, and we'll hand proceedings back to the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you to the healers, and thank you for all that asked for healing. Now, for that moment, I ask our medium for this evening to come forward and show you all that life is indeed eternal. So please welcome to the front our medium for this evening, Reverend Nick Brown.
Hello, good evening all. So one of the wonderful things about this way of life is that there is no such thing as one set, true philosophy. There is just understanding, there is direction, there is hope. And guidance too from the world of spirit, but also from our friends and helpers in the world of spirit through exponents of this way of life. And I thought that was wonderful philosophy. And may I make use of it for a second?
Yeah, by all means.
Eunice reached out to. I've got to start over here for some. I'm so used to being over this side. When Eunice reached out and said, "I'm doing the philosophy this week. Do you mind?" And I was like, "No, go for it." We was talking about, you'd got a few ideas that you'd been penning down, and she'd send them later. And I was like, "Okay, I'll just wait for that conversation." But I didn't get there in time because her guides and helpers already got in there. You're not going to read something out for philosophy. You'll do it off the cuff. And of course, exactly what you did. And I thought it was very, very good. So thank you. And you're absolutely right, because memory is at the core of everything to do with mediumship and spirit. They have to remember what they look like in order to reach out to us. They have to use memories to make connections with us. Memory is isness. in terms of who we are, what we are, and certainly the way they communicate in the world of spirit. Of course, it's not my job this week to talk about such things. My job is to get on with it and talk to them up there and see what they've got to say. May I come to you, young lady? As I instantly I was put on my place. So stand on ceremony, right? Okay. And you know, one of the things that you always worry about a room full of people that you know is, are you going to be able to do the work for people without bringing up the same people all the time? And instantly I was relieved, because I was aware of an energy that I genuinely feel I've never experienced before. And I felt a little bit abrupt as I came forward. Thank you, darling. Okay, don't call you darling. Here we go. We're going to have one. Right. As I link in, I'm made aware of this lady, this female coming forward. It is not mum. It is not mum. However, this is a grandmotherly link. And I do feel with this grandmotherly link, she is quite serious, quite to the, not loving the fact that I'm mucking about or you know, trying to fill the gaps in a little bit with a bit of humour and laughing about, because certain things must be taken seriously. She really picked the wrong medium with me. But in terms of the way she comes forward, I do feel this. Oh, hello. I'm getting shorter. There's a hole in the floor. I'm shrinking. I'm melting. So I feel, in terms of my height, I'm a bit shorter than me, probably around about here in terms of height. And this grandmotherly instinct. There is a lot of passion and compassion, but I do feel the order and seriousness rules the day with this lady, in terms of the way she just bowled it in and said, well, come on, get on with it then. And again, I keep pulling my clothes down as if I've got to be smart in front of her, and I can't be, you know, all messed about and untidy, and I've got to make sure everything's smart, because I'm on view. I'm in public display. There are certain things that we must do when we're on view and in public display, and that's behave ourselves and be slightly more appropriate than usual. Would you be able to understand a grandmotherly link like that? Right, okay. You would understand that on your paternal side, there is an important date around April. I want to say it's one of the Hatch Match Dispatch, but it's around April time. It's on the, I feel drawn to the paternal, so dad's side of the family. And if she's not grandmother, it would be of that generation, you see. Because you're quite sprightly and young still, you see. So we're going back a ways here. So there's an important date on the father's side of the family in relation to April. I do feel there's some kind of connection here with her, but I feel there's more to it than that. Okay, right. As much as there's this serious side, I do feel that this lady is also a little bit... I am not saying that. Okay. As well as the seriousness, there's also an element of, somebody would have described her as a bit crackers. Oh. Did you ever find anything out about her? No. Oh. Talk about start with an easy one, eh? Right. I'm not going to try and force any information onto you that you can't understand. However, I'm quietly confident by the way she's bolded in with this brutalness about her, that this is who she says she is. She's getting really, really annoyed with me because I've got my hand in my pocket, but I don't care. Because it's keeping that hand from mucking about, you see. What I can tell you in terms of her is, people would have described her as a little bit cranky and a little bit crackers. And I can also tell you that there is an important... If you've done through DNA, you may be able to find something out in the future. April is significant with this lady, so I'll give you that. What I will say in terms of why she's come, because I'm not going to give you lists and lists and lists of things that you can't confirm or deny. But you, in terms of what you're doing right now, okay, she's a little bit annoyed. She's a little bit annoyed because you're still not giving yourself that credit. She's been watching you your whole life, whether you knew her or not. Of course, you know that. But in terms of the way she's been watching you, she's been watching at a distance. And I do feel you felt that energy of slight abruptness come through from time to time in your own work. Would you understand that? And it's on the periphery, it's on the edge. The reason that is because she doesn't feel she has the right to take too much influence, but she's still interested in you and your life. And so what she's doing is she's been watching, and she wants you to embrace the crackersness. That's a dangerous thing to say in any location, but especially here. But she wants you to embrace the crackersness, because she never minded being described as being a bit crackers. She could be serious and sensible when she needs to, but in terms of the behaviours and everything, I know you well enough to know that you've been embracing your crackersness a little, but it's not enough. It's not enough. Wait till next Thursday. Remember, in terms of slumber party, it's not necessarily what you wear, just pajamas and that sort of thing, dear. And again, there is, with this lady as well, I feel like she was more northernly from where we are now, in terms of location, in terms of where her heart was. But what I do know is that you have been doing a lot more research and reading than you used to do lately. And there's something about newspapers, going through newspaper cuttings, that you need to be doing in terms of what it is that you're looking for in terms of your work, which I haven't got a clue what I'm talking about. I hope you do. But you need to be looking at more newspapers rather than reference books, and that evil contraption, which is the internet, apparently, by her description. But obviously, I'm not going to give you any more than that because you can't take it. But do, with the knowledge that she has been watching over you, by acknowledging the papers and the stuff that you're going on. But do look a little bit north, look a little bit April, be crackers, enjoy it, and I'll say God bless you. I'll probably come back to you in a minute, knowing the way they are today. Oh, hello. Do I take the challenge first, or do I save it till later? No, I'll save it till later. May I come to you? I'm going back over here. I'll see you in a minute. Okay. Again, I'm being told to tidy myself up. Do you know what? I really put an effort in tonight, and all they're doing tonight is telling me to tidy myself up. I have a gentleman coming forward for you. He probably looks around about 60s-ish in terms of age. He's got quite lightish hair that's kind of like a little bit wild and sticky-uppy, but he had a good head of hair. It didn't recede that much. So I do feel that to an extent he had some still on top, but it feels a little bit sticky out. And in terms of relationship, I don't feel that this is family. It feels like family without being family. And he's got, like I said, he's oh, hello. I feel a little bit taller. I've got this light hair that's slightly sticky out, but he had a good head of hair. And I feel like I want to look after you, I want to take care of you, but I'm not actual family. And as he comes forward, I feel this gruffness about him, in terms of the way he spoke. He was a bit of a contradiction in terms of he had this really, really deep, gravelly voice with gravity, but actually that wasn't him at all. He just sounded like it to strangers. You're looking confused, my darling. I'm going back probably around about 6 or 7, maybe more years, in terms of when this gentleman would have passed. And I just feel like you two would have had secret conversations that nobody else would have been involved in terms of how you communicated. Does that make sense? Okay. Right, okay. And it connects with everything else that I've just been... Okay, right, okay. Also with this gentleman, I'm seeing glass. He likes your glasses, but his wouldn't have been as round as that, I don't feel. A bit more squished. And once again, that contradiction in terms of personality, because in 1 minute I can feel my voice going, a little bit like this. But I just also, I feel really quite upbeat and jolly in terms of who I am. There was a sensibleness, there was a seriousness to this gentleman, but he always tried to bring a little bit of lightness, a little bit of levity, and I've got to say, a little bit of inspiration to the subject. And I do feel that although he would have had familiar relationships with other people, always had a soft spot for you. Sorry, I've just caught up. And I will say from me, and this isn't spiritual evidence, this is what I've just said, he was also a crafty what's-it. As well as that upbeat, and because of the realization that I've just had, there is a great deal of emotion there. Okay, I know you've been away for a while, but you were always aware of him peeking over your shoulder throughout the whole time. And it was not for the want of wanting to come. You just didn't have the time and the opportunity. And what he's saying is, we still did the work whilst you were away. Oh, that's something you never told me. And it's your relationship to how it was down here is not the same anymore, because it's grown and changed in the last half a decade. And interestingly enough, his behaviors, his attitudes, his interactions have also changed over time, as you have changed over time with him. But you don't always listen. Right, okay. Okay. There's something about dietary requirements that he was always trying to feed you, very funny. He'd been trying to feed you guidance and advice in terms of, shall we say, digestion. You were having some difficulties with that, and he was trying to give you advice and guidance, but you weren't listening because you knew better. Does that make sense? Right, okay. Okay. Oh, hello, it's going to be one of them nights. There is an aminal coming in with him. And I feel, if I just slightly stoop and do that, I'd be around about the right height in terms of this particular aminal. I don't feel that maybe for him having to slightly reach down, but I think for me, I'd probably be able to just bend the back of my knees. So I feel this airy this hairy furball of love and laughter and humour just bounding around him. But I feel it's more connected to you, but he's kind of like the keeper, for want of a better... Would you understand a kind of like an Alsatian-sized... I don't feel it's an Alsatian, but there's an Alsatian-sized, so that kind of height, because all I can see at the moment is its back. And I can see black fur, quite silky, quite glossy, as he comes in with that. You don't understand that, do you? Okay. He's come in with him, so I'll just put that to one side a second. Even though he's become slightly more... I'm going to use a word that I like. Even though he's become slightly more highbrow in terms of his spirituality in his time away, you'll have to tell me about that, he hasn't lost his humour, because he's showing me a memory link here in terms of, I don't think it's that long ago. It's almost like he was playing a game of hide and seek with things, and you were getting really, really quite abrasive. And in actual fact, the reason he's saying this is because at one point you actually yelled out his name and said, "Will you bleeping put that bleeping thing back?" And about 10 minutes later, you found it. Brilliant, thank you. Know that he is absolutely made up to be able to take the pee out of me, certainly, on a platform that I call home. Thank you very much. But he's absolutely, of course, made up that you're back in the mix. Now the work begins. Now the work begins. Keep sending those thoughts of healing to him. He is definitely a messenger of carrying on that. I heard a lovely new way of calling absent healing something else the other day. I'll have to ask who it was and ask them what they said, because you'll probably like it too. But that he is definitely the messenger of healing. He is definitely your healing guide. He is definitely your friend, and he is so pleased to be able to just reach out and get a bit of a rise out of you with all of this, rather. And I can't believe he is making me do this. And I will say, God bless you. And thank you for listening. He caught me out with that one. Bugger. It's the hair confused me. Yeah, because it was more sticky uppy. Sent me off on a completely different image, but then that was a way of getting through. Thank you for listening. Hello. Don't say that until you've heard me speak first, love. Okay. Right. I'm getting images rather than an actual connection to begin with, and I think that's their way of trying to help me. But I want to go back to what Eunice was saying about making things for Christmas. How do I word this without the whole front row going up in uproar? I don't think there is a way. Would you remember? You would remember. When you were a child, because it can't be that long ago. You would remember exactly. You would remember making your own toys and games and things, in particular at Christmas. But what I'm seeing, and this is really, 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 I feel like it's a game or something, but bits of string and tin foil balls hanging off the bottom of them. It's like that game, like clackers and things. It looks a little bit like that, but instead of it being made of plastic or wood or anything like that, it's almost like there's this tin foil ball attached to some string, and it's almost like it's whacking about and do you remember making?
I remember making a lot of stuff.
Right, and it was made out of household implements and objects and things that were ready available, rather than being posh and fancy. And it was the effort of making, like for instance with the philosophy, it was that effort of making them that was most important. In particular, the effort of making them with a certain lady who is coming forward, who looks very much like you, but I would say is a bit shorter than you. Her hair is very similar to yours, but I do feel she would have pulled hers back. And I feel that this would be on a maternal link, so mother, grandmother kind of thing. But it's almost like she was around and she was giving instructions and holding court and showing you how, and helping you make these things. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Well, I've got a tough crowd, haven't I? Well, I don't blooming know. She didn't tell me how old you was. Do you recognise?
I remember making things with my mom, and sometimes my aunt came round.
Right, and would you recognise? Right, okay. It looks similar to yours, but I feel it's more brushed back. I can't see completely how brushed back, whether it's tied at the back or whether it's up or anything like that. But I can see more of her face than I can of yours, you see. I can just about make out the front of the ears, so that's how I know it's further back. This lady, in terms of her temperament, cool. Chalk and cheese, mate, I tell you. In terms of the conversations that we have here, she would, in her earthly life, have perhaps not been too impressed. And in actual fact, there are times when you'll sit there thinking, and you suddenly, your face becomes very, very serious. It can sometimes be misinterpreted as a scowl. That expression there is what she's been wearing since the minute she stepped up to me. Right, okay, because I feel like she thinks that I might be a bit of a bad influence. She obviously hasn't met the rest of your friends. But this is a lady who knew how to scowl. And you know that moment when you said, well, it depends how old I was. That was her, that bite back. Well, what does it matter how old you are? You either know me or you don't. And it's really quite, ooh, okay, fine. But there was an element of snappiness, a slight sense of superiority, I feel, actually, with this lady. I don't feel it's all her, but I feel that's how she would have been interpreted by people who didn't know her overly well. I'm trying to be polite with this lady here. Okay. This lady, as much as she comes across that way, I do feel that she was very earthy, very down to earth. I don't know whether this is symbolic, but she's basically dressed up like she would be in a blacksmith forge shoeing horses. So I don't know whether she was that down to earthy, but this is not a woman who was afraid of getting her hands dirty. I think that's just her way of letting me know that she wasn't just this po-faced who frown on people. Thank you. Okay. Well, we got there in the end. That's all that's good. That's all I care about. But in terms of this po-facedness, it wasn't until later in life you found out that there was actually reasonable reasons why she was a little bit sterner. You might not necessarily have agreed with the reaction. You might have done things differently yourself. but there was a valid explanation as to why she was, certainly in her view, there was a valid explanation as to why she was like she was. But she wants to be, thank you, she wants to be remembered more for this down-to-earth, earthy, get your hands dirty and shoe a horse image that she gave me, in terms of who she was. Because when she was doing stuff, when she was getting her hands dirty, when she was working hard, for her that was a distraction. And it made her feel more herself. In terms of this lady, she's not the kind of person that would tell me too much about personal things. But I am feeling that rather significant that I usually get in terms of heart conditions. But I also feel like I'm kind of going down on one side here. And I just feel like there's a huge weakness on this side of and I'm fighting to keep myself up. And I feel there would have been this weakness, this struggle that she would have, but she would have fought like Billy-O. I'm having to watch there was another word that I would have used there, but she's encouraging me a little bit, I think. But I'm having to fight like Billy-O to keep myself upright. I'm having to fight to stand tall. And this is why you understand her better now than you did then. In terms of doing things to distract yourself, in terms of fighting to keep the chin, the head, and the whole body up sometimes. But her strength, as much as she was misunderstood in her view, what she wants to bring you is that strength, that determination, and that grit your teeth and scowl away element of her to keep you going. She is deeply proud and impressed with you. She's a little bit frustrated with a few people around you, and no, I'm not talking about the front row. These are people that would have been connected to her. There's somebody in particular who she thinks needs a good clip round the ear, and that's the polite version. I believe the phrase drop kick and a part of the body was used by her in terms of the individual in question. If I'd have been here, I would have drop kicked his. Wow. I really did. But this is something about her that I'm feeling the more she relaxes with me. She's taken a while to relax with me. I really don't think she would have liked me on the earth plane. I don't think she would have got me. I don't think I would have entirely got her properly, but I think she would have probably struggled with me in terms of I'm a little bit too off the wall for her, because sometimes I'm difficult to read and figure out where I'm coming from, and sometimes I use humor a little bit too much, which would have probably made her feel a little bit standoffish with me, because she would have wanted to have taken the time to get to know me properly. But we are now starting to feel a little bit more familiar with each other. And so she's relaxing with me a little bit. And as she's relaxing, she's becoming much more floaty and much more, flowing in terms of movement. There's this stiffness that she had with me is now relaxing. And this is how she would have you knew whether she liked somebody or not, because if she was really, really stiff with them, that's it, there's no hope. But if she was a little bit more, and I feel like I'm moving from the elbows. I don't feel like I'm moving from the shoulders. I feel like I floated from the elbows kind of thing. So I don't know whether, again, there was some kind of physical reason or whether it was just her. But I feel like I'm moving more from the hands and the arms, and the elbows are kept to the side. And again, as I do that, my rib cages are hurting with her. Bless her, she went through an awful lot more than she let on. But what she wants you to know is that she is here to give you that support, that strength, that upliftment. But mostly, you grit your teeth, you scowl as much as you need to, and I have got your back. and I will say God bless you and thank you for listening. So I have to do it this way because of advertising purposes. As I fill my generic, unbranded soda into my glass. Promised myself I was going to be good and not do this tonight, but as they've already tripped me up, caught me out, played around, something that she was not expecting and that I always said that I never would. Linda, can I come to you? They're putting me through my bloody paces tonight, I tell you. There you go. Interestingly enough, health and safety. I know who I've got, but I'm allowing it because I never actually knew him. Because as soon as I linked in earlier on, I saw a man with a big old-fashioned fireman's helmet under his arm. So if you're watching Auntie Val, take a note too. So this would be, I believe, I could be wrong because I've been misdirected before tonight. This would be Uncle Grant for me, so your brother-in-law. Thank you. What I'm getting as he comes up close is not the image that I've recognized in my 45 years of being told the stories, because I actually feel a lot more nervous with this gentleman. I feel a lot of nervous energy in the pit of my stomach. I feel a little bit more unsure of myself than the legend has kind of been created, so to speak, in a polite way, not an offensive way. But there's a lot more uncertainty with this gentleman than I would have given credit for. Can you understand that? Also, what I'm being given here is... okay. There would have been a lady that would have been I feel this would have been... you might have to ask your sister about this one. There's this lady that passed before him that had pearls that were handed down to him. Right, okay. Because I feel that someone still has them. So if you could ask, or if you're watching, that'd be even great, Val. But these pearls are still in existence. I feel they continue to hand down. But these came from either his mother or his grandmother. And in terms of, again, why because I've given him a few minutes, because I ain't going to use up a lot of time for him, bless his heart, but I was duty bound because he said, you do me a favour and I'll do you one. I won't let you trip over the health and safety, you see. This nervous energy is important because he wants to be remembered for who he is. And his words are warts and all. He is concerned that there is somebody, this I genuinely don't know about, he is concerned that there is somebody over that way, so I'm assuming it's over where you're going soon. There is somebody over that way that's being given impossible tasks and impossible boundaries to kind of fit within. You obviously do understand this. You'll have to tell me about it later then, because I'm nosy. But somebody's been given these impossible boundaries to fit, and he feels in some way responsible for that because of the legacy and the legend that is him. And he's not happy about that. People need to lighten up and relax a little bit and remember that even I got a bit nervous sometimes, and that not only this individual should go easy on himself, but everyone around them should be an awful lot easier as well. And I do know from the way I'm getting right now, when this man got wound up, he spoke with passion, because I'm sorry everyone in the front row, I am getting louder, I'm getting firmer. That lack of confidence is still there, but I don't care anymore. My fists are balling up, my hands are going up and down, and I do feel that I would have made myself heard. and I thought it was just me and my cousin that were redheads. I've only ever seen him in a black and white picture, so he might have been a redhead, I don't know. But he's kind of like all of us, really, skipped a generation. But in terms of this strength of personality, it only came out when it needed to, and the rest of the time he was just like everybody else. And he wants this person to be lightened up on and let them live, let them have fun, let them enjoy life, and let them make a few mistakes. Can you pass that on, please, if I haven't already? I'll say God bless and thank you for listening. And ironically, that's the first time I've properly met my uncle. Can I come to you, please? I have got about 4 or 5 people vying for attention right now. And obviously I'm aware who one of them is, because he's not going to let the opportunity go without saying at least hello. Although, more accurately, being one of the ones that caused me a bit of misery and mischief as well, because again, this is his sense of humour. And even though he's playing me about and mucking about and taking the mick, I always believed this, and now I know it personally, and you knew better than anyone. There was never any malice involved in that mickey taking. It was the only way he could break down barriers for people. And again, this is something I only ever suspected. I assumed, because I always try and assume the best of everyone, that sorry, dear. Yeah, actually, would you understand that there was a lot of unsteadiness on his feet before you knew there was something wrong? Because I asked him to give me something I wouldn't know. And would you also understand that this was the one time in his life he actually told a few fibs? Because he didn't tell you everything straight away. Because he was hoping that he was wrong. He didn't tell you until he was pretty sure. And this was something that not only he recognized, but actually you did too, and he weren't fooling anybody. On that, there were very few people that he couldn't fool. You were one of them. Okay. That mischief has just gone galactic. In terms of that humour, you know that if things suddenly became difficult, he would make use of that humour to try and lighten the moment anyway. But that is what he wants to bring to you as well right now, that humour, the laughter, the memories. She's good old. I just remembered memories was part of the address, and I just turned around and went, see, she's a good old girl, isn't she? She knew what she was talking about. I've been around here pulling strings all night, he says. It's brilliant. And you know, that's how he actually dealt with the family. He would have a word in one ear, a word in another ear, a word in another ear, and like a drawstring bag, when he was ready, and he would pull everything together. I don't know whether he played chess, but he should have done, because he was actually a master strategist in terms of getting people to do what needed to be done. See, that I wouldn't have known. I'm happy with that. Again, the reason he's here, you know he's there, you know he's watching, you know he's listening, and he is strategizing with all of these others that are here. And I just heard this slightly deeper voice say, are you going to let me say something now? And he just said, why? And there was this mischief with that again as well. So I do know that there is a wonderful, oh, of course, friendship and interplay with these two that transcends time and space and everything else that, went on between. And they're still batting off each other, and those play fights and those play arguments and those mucking around and those sillinesses, but also it's like when they come together with cause and purpose. Do you remember Hale and Pace? We are the management. And they're kind of like standing like this, shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow, and they're saying, we got this, you got this, we are here. And suddenly they both turn very, very serious and sensible. The slightly taller gentleman, well, I say slightly taller gentleman, the slightly taller gentleman just scowled a little bit, as if to say, fight. And I and he are the management, and we will be here. You know this, but sometimes it's nice to hear it too. They don't want to leave you with that kind of phrase. So what they've asked me to say is that they've got a mutual appreciation, scrumpy spiritual sewing circle going on upstairs. So I feel like would there be a memory in terms of sharing scrumpy like cider? There's something to do with specifically cider because they said scrumpy. So they've got a scrumpy drinking spiritual sewing circle going on, and they are stitching your tapestry. They are stitching your tapestry, and there's still quite a few stitches to go yet. And remember that a stitch in time saves 9. I will say God bless you and thank you for listening. Challenges. No, because he's always an awkward one. I'm not going to him. All right, yes, you are. Okay. May I come to you, sir? Right, if you give me the same grief as you do every other medium, you're going to be over my knee, first things first. I'm glad the microphone's far away enough that people didn't hear what you just said. Okay. All joking and all seriousness aside, I am aware of a gentleman coming through right now who, again, is not entirely comfortable speaking publicly. I do feel a slight nervousness coming through, a slight uncertainty with my speech. I don't know whether it's a slurring. I don't know whether it's a bit of a, what do you call that? Stutter. But there's something going on that doesn't feel quite right in terms of my speech. It's almost as though I can't get out the words that I want to get out. So whether I've interpreted that as a literal medical condition or whether it's emotional, I don't know yet. But I do know that this gentleman, what is it with the left-hand side tonight? I don't feel great physically. And I know that there's something going on in my elbow. I feel something in my hip, and I feel something in my stomach. And I know I don't feel right. And as he's giving me all of this, he's trying not to. He says, I know you want to know it. I know you need to know it to help identify me. But I don't really want to be talking about this, and I don't see why I should have to. And he's getting a little bit quite fisty with that. Do you understand so far where I'm going with this? Right, thank you. I actually feel, in spite of what I've felt so far, that nervousness, that uncertainty of speaking, I think me and him would have either gotten on like a house on fire or would have been like an absolute bonfire. It would have been either one or the other. It wouldn't have been in between. And I feel the way he's taking the mick right now, it's a little bit more towards the, really, really would have gotten on quite well kind of side. Because as I've said certain things and he's just gone, oh, hey! And is it, you watch yourself, be careful. And we're having this kind of tit for tat conversation behind the scenes right now. And he's finding it absolutely hilarious. And he's just like, who cares? This is a man, in spite of what he saw, I only got you moving it once. In spite of that first initial contact, this is a guy who knew how to live. And from the kind of connection I'm feeling in terms of his personality and persona, he didn't live as long as he should have done. It was cut short rather too quickly. I do feel slightly younger than the average passing age of the people that I tend to get come through. And thank you. Initially, he was furious, frustrated, and wound up about that. But in his time in the spirit world, he's the kind of guy that would have always been able to adapt and overcome. And he's making good use of his time now. And he feels less frustrated about the lost potential than others. Because you still burn about it. And he can feel you still burn about it. But you also know that he would be the first person to turn around to you, oh, I wish I could do this, give you a quick smack around the chops and say, will you lighten up? He is also trying to catch me out, because the language hasn't entirely been, shall we say, priestly coming from this direction. And it's again that fun side of he's just trying to wind me up for your benefit. Between the two of us, mate. And this is where I feel it's between the two of us. We can catch the bugger out, There you go. You can have that one. We can catch him out. And it's again that playful side of him that he wants to be remembered for. The fun side, the uplifting, joyful human being that was able to put a smile on people's faces. Will you stop burning for me and shine for yourself? Because as much as I was peeved at the time, I am okay with where I am. I'm doing stuff. I'm being useful. I am still, and this is an important phrase that I've got to use, I am still making the difference that I wanted to make. It might be in a different way, but then I never really did believe in all this mumbo jumbo. At least I got a second chance this way. And this is a man who knew how to deal with life. And he's doing it. Remember my lesson. And I have to, it's not so much the looking over the glasses, it's getting the glasses out of the way and looking you in the eye. Live. And do not let my memory bring you down, because he would hate that, and you know it. And as I stand here, I'm feeling 10 feet tall, because when he looks at you and sees you when you are, in his words, firing on all cylinders, when you are firing on all cylinders, you make him feel 10 feet tall. He is so damn proud of you. And as I stand here looking at you without my glasses on, everyone else has just disappeared. And this is how he made you feel, as though there was no one else in the room when he had that view of you. Please be you and no one else. For me, if nothing else. Because you make me feel 10 feet tall. And he really does mean that. Does this all make sense to you? Yeah. Good. Thank you. I get the impression that he was hanging around earlier and eavesdropping. Don't be doing things, don't be getting things, don't be seeing things, and don't be starting things without doing something about. And he's getting really, really worked. I've got to put my glasses down, they'll get smashed. Don't be starting things without doing something about it. You stick your finger in the pie, taste the flavour, oh, that's lovely, and then a month later it's gone out of date. And you do this with so many things, in particular your spirituality, the experiences that you have had, and you think about them, and then I'll get back to that. And then you move on to the next thing. It's like, oh, look at this, ooh, shiny, shiny. You're a magpie, just like me. I understand. But he doesn't. Do something about them. Whatever you receive from Spirit, whatever you receive in life, do something about it. And that will fill the gap. That will fill the void. And that will lead you down the path that you think you're looking for. So pick up your socks, pull up your duds, tighten your belt, flip on your braces, and polish your boots and buckles and get out there. And I will be watching your back. I'll say God bless you and thank you for listening. Why have you given up painting? He ain't going. Yeah. He says, why have you given up painting? It was an outlet. It was a skill and a talent. And it's... Okay. It's not an unmanly task either. Start again. You might find that you get more of what you need if you pick up the brush once more. I'll say God bless. Wow. Friends, we are pretty much out of time. I do apologize. I didn't get round more. I got a bit carried away. It's always quite nerve-wracking when you serve your own church, and it's never easy when you think you know people. But I hope tonight that Spirit have made use of me to prove that there is a world of Spirit reaching out to you. And I hope you've had a good evening. I'll say God bless and thank you for listening.
Wow. That hit home to a few people. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
And I enjoyed watching your faces. Like Nick says, it is very, very hard when you know quite a lot about nearly everybody who's here to try and get them to send you something that you don't think they do know. and give you real evidence. So please give Nick a round of applause because I think he deserves it.
If I may, the person who I was talking to about that different term for healing, absent healing, the person who I was talking to about it was actually watching. It was Reverend Charianne from France, and she's just confirmed the term that she read and thought was slightly more interesting and appropriate and easier to understand is actually projected healing, which I think quite interesting. Projected healing. So I just thought I'd share that. There we go. Thank you, Cherry.
Yeah. So we're coming to the end of the evening. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been little bit different.
Isn't it?
And are you all right to do the closing?
Of course I am.
Please? So I'll now ask Nick to do the closing prayer, after which we will have a raffle.
Raffle, raffle, raffle. Friends, let's join together one last time, and don't worry, this is the last time you've got to listen to my voice tonight. Friends, let's join together and say, Great Spirit, universal source of all creation, we thank you. We thank you for the opportunity to come together as friends. We thank you for the opportunity to unite under that banner of love and friendship. But most of all, Great Spirit, we thank you for the memories that we build and grow and share together. We thank you for the life that we get to lead in this world, no matter how difficult and struggle and troublesome it can be sometimes. We are reminded by those teachings from your messengers of light that unity, community, and togetherness can carry us forward through any strife or struggle. And so, as we go out into the world, I ask that a blessing be placed on each person here present and the friends and families that they represent. Until we meet again, in your name, amen.
Thank you. Well, like I said, we're coming to the end of the evening. I hope you've enjoyed it. And it's just about time to say bye to all my friends who are watching online, all the friends of the church. I know at least 2 of you are watching. Keep an eye on us. I dare say I'll hear about it later on in the week.
I dare say.
So thank you all for coming. Safe journey home. But before you go, nibbles, cuppa, chat, you're welcome. So thank you very much and good night.
And a big thank you to our chair tonight, Eunice. God bless you all at home, and I'll see you next week.